Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news. We've got lots to talk about for you today. A potential transfer battle for a midfielder with Arsenal. Varane's medical today. A few rumours, well not even rumours, a few things coming from the training ground in relation to United's preparation, the goalkeeping choice, what's going on, are we prepared, the Trippier latest from a good source in England, and a few other things as well. A lot of things coming out this morning, so a lot to get into. But just a bit of breaking news actually, you might not have seen this. Simon Stone, BBC journalist, bit of a tap-in merchant, take it as a compliment. It means he doesn't say things unless it's actually going to happen. So he's never going to come out and say United are in talks with Ruben Neves or something like that when it's speculative. He's the sort of person who'll say United are going to sign Neves when it's very near the end. He's come out and said all these stories about Anthony Martial, no truth in that. He's a big part of Solskjaer's plans this season. Anthony Martial will not be leaving Manchester United, which fits in exactly with what I and some of you have been talking about for the last 2 days, that it makes no sense for Manchester United to sell Anthony Martial 3 weeks out from the end of the transfer window. And it is 3 weeks today that the transfer window closes. So Anthony Martial will not be leaving Manchester United, whether you want him to or not. Park it, forget about it, and let's start thinking about the season ahead with Martial here, because he is going to be part of that. Anthony Martial not leaving Manchester United from Simon Stone in the last few minutes. Also, good news, I think, Raphael Varane Medical today. This is coming from Manchester Evening News. Samuel Lucker saying that Manchester United are hopeful that they can do the medical for Raphael Varane today and still announce the deal tomorrow. Medical today, photographs today, videos today. Get it done. Tomorrow he wants to be training because he wants an outside chance of playing against Leeds on Saturday, although Solskjaer has already said that he'll be on the bench. Varane wants to train with the team tomorrow to prove he's fit for the game on Saturday, which would be massive. And I think Solskjaer needs to take that on board. Don't sit there and go, Varane, I'm going to be loyal to Lindelof. No, if Varane is fit, play Varane. It's like doing a Formula 1 race in a Ferrari or doing it in a go-kart. And with all due respect, Lindelof, he ain't fit to polish Varane's boots. And look, that doesn't mean Lindelof's a bad player, but we've just bought a world-class centre-back and we've got 3 points for grabs up against Leeds. My worry is, and look, if Varane's not fit, you don't pick Varane. That's fine. I don't understand that. But if Varane's saying he's fit and he wants to play, back post cross, half an hour in, Lindelof against Bamford. Lindelof and the ball in the back of the net, 1-0 down. You only get one for the ball. You don't get one ball for Lindelof. 1-0. Back post cross, Varane against Bamford, sit down Bamford, bang, headed away. And that's what worries me, is like in this game, if Varane wants to play and he is fit, you pick Varane. Because Leeds' big striker is big, Bamford. He's going to attach himself to Lindelof like Calvert. Last season, how many times did we see and say, why is Harry Maguire always the spare man? Because the centre forward ain't stupid. They go and attach themselves to the weak crap centre-back in the air. And that's what Bamford will do with Lindelof. So I think it's important that if we can pick him, we do pick him. So Varane medical today, according to Manchester Evening News. If he puts in a negative COVID test, which you'd expect him to do, medical today, photos today, announcement tomorrow. Maybe later on today, but I think it will be tomorrow. So United trying to get that done so he can train tomorrow morning, which would be great for Manchester United. So let's see whether that actually happens. Let's see what develops today. But looking positive on a Varane medical today so he can train tomorrow and have an outside chance of starting against Leeds on Saturday. Because he has had a fitness program at home that's been given to him. It's difficult training at home, but he's had a fitness program at home. So let's see what happens with Varane. Martial staying, Simon Stone, that's big news, just come out in the last few minutes. But the headline we were going to talk about is quarantine Tolisso to Manchester United. This is coming from some British outlets and also Bild in Germany. Plays for Bayern Munich, 27 years of age, midfielder, Manchester United, Arsenal being linked to Tolisso in a €10 million deal. €10 million. Slow Sports News, €10 million deal. Tolisso, Manchester United and Arsenal. €10 million deal. Bargain. Transfer bargain. Tolisso is a player that Bayern Munich are looking to move on. They were looking to move on him last summer. They've been looking to move him on at the start of this summer, and the price has always been around sort of 20 to 30 million euros. Apparently it's coming down low. It's got to go low. The baggy sweatpants and the Reeboks with the straps. So Tolisso has now been linked to Manchester United and Arsenal for 10 million euros. Now, people will say transfer bargain. And look, I think it says it on the thumbnail. It is a bargain. Someone's going to get a bargain. But you know what? I don't shop at Poundland. I shop at Harrods. My name's Manchester United. Just because there's a bargain to be had doesn't mean I need to go and buy it. Manchester United need creme de la creme of midfield signing. We don't need bargain basement, could be a bargain, could be a, I always think cheap things are cheap for a reason. If you go to the supermarket, right, and you go to the reduced aisle, that's because the steak or whatever it is you buy, it's on its sell by date. You've got to eat it that day, right? It's got to work there and then. You go into the non-reduced section and buy your steak, it might be able to go in your fridge for a week. You've got time to use it and plan and everything like that. Tolisso, to me, it's got to work here and now, and if it doesn't work, it's not a bargain. And I don't think Tolisso for Manchester United is the right deal to do. And I'm not going to be persuaded by the fact that he's cheap, because he's 27, and we're Manchester United. We're looking to buy a player that's going to run our midfield. We're not looking to buy a bargain because we're cheap. I hope. And if I'd have said to you at the start of the summer, we're looking for a midfielder, would you have said Tolisso in your top 5? No, you wouldn't. And are we now going, well, yeah, we'll take him over nothing? Well, that's the problem. Do you think Sancho will start against Leeds, says Steam and Gaming? I don't know at the moment. I don't know, though. I don't know. MUFC Deacon says Tolisso better than Fred. I will address that Sancho question, but give me a couple of days to see how he's going in training. Tolisso isn't better than McFred or McTominay, says MUFC Deacon. Tolisso is a good enough player. I mean, Tolisso, correct me if I'm wrong, he was part of the Euro squad for France. There's no look. Let's talk about the positives about Tolisso. He is available. He would be cheap. And he's a good player, and I'd say his attributes from what I've seen of him, and I was looking at him coming to United when he went to Bayern Munich a couple of years ago, so from what I remember of Tolisso, because admittedly I haven't really seen him much over the last couple of years, but he's a good passer, he's not bad at tackling, he's got a decent shot on him, but I would definitely put him into the sort of, he's not like Van der Beek, he's not like Pogba, but I think he's more of a box-to-box player. I don't think he's a holding midfielder. And again, you could say, well, Neves isn't technically a holding midfielder, but I think Neves has got more of the attributes to be a holding midfielder. I think Camavinga's got more of the attributes to be a holding midfielder. And more importantly, I think Neves and Camavinga are better than Tolisso. And there might be a 20 million euro difference in price, but are we just going to go cheap, or are we going to get the best we can get for the value for the money? And if we're not looking at Trippier anymore, which we'll talk about in a moment, we really should be looking at Neves or Camavinga and not Tolisso. And I think that's my argument there. There are other arguments, but realistically, I would take Neves and Camavinga any day of the week over Tolisso. Age, ability, suitability. Those three things are why I would take Neves or Camavinga over Tolisso. I'm sure there'll be people saying I'll take Tolisso over nothing, but are we that club? We need a midfielder. I'm not going to comprehend or accept nothing, but there is better than Tolisso for Manchester United to go for. And also the big issue as well, if you know anything about Tolisso's recent history, is injuries. Cruciate ligament a couple of years ago, lots of different muscle injuries after that. The intensity of the Premier League and what we're looking for. How reliable is he going to be at 27 after, quite severe injuries recently? Certainly the knee injury, which he still seems to be picking up issues from. So for me, hopefully this is just a story in the press. And it's, again, a bit like Trippier. It's another battle Arsenal can win. We ain't getting our swords out. You can take it, not bothered. It's like fighting over a can of Sprite. I'm not interested. If it's 7-Up, I might go for it, but I'm not interested in Sprite. Simple as that. Let him go for it. I'm not bothered. He is injury prone. He is a decent player, but it feels to me like it's a cheap deal, and we don't want that. We buy him French to keep Pogba, says Mandor. And why buy players with attributes to become a CDM instead of a real CDM? We are Manchester United. Glazers out, says Atea. Tolisso is a downgrade in my opinion. I don't think anything will have come of Tolisso. And also, one thing I would say as well is, we've bought a midfielder from Bayern Munich before who is getting on a little bit and is injury prone. And that was Schweinsteiger. And I was very happy about it. I nearly broke down there. No, that was Schweinsteiger. And I loved the deal. But Bayern Munich don't tend to sell players that are valuable. And what I mean by valuable, is like, they ain't going to let Goretzka go. They wouldn't let Kimmich go because they're still fantastic players. Bayern Munich very rarely lose a player that's, in their prime. They're quite happy to let players where they feel, they're on their way out, they're on their way down. And I think that, I wouldn't go anywhere near Tolisso, to be honest with you. So there we go. MP Matthew says Sprite's better than 7-Up. I don't know about that. I would like Neves, Rice or Camavinga, says Fire Ants. They only sell players they feel aren't good enough anymore. That's what I was trying to say, Kevin. Yeah, you're spot on there. They lost Alaba in his prime, says Irish. Yeah, but there's always a Pratt in the chat. The Pratt of the chat is there. I said they don't normally let it happen. Alaba ran his contract down. You want to explain to me how Bayern Munich let that happen? Like, you can only offer somebody a contract so long and they run it down. It's like United losing Pogba. They don't want to. He's running his contract down. What I'm saying is Bayern Munich very rarely will sell a player that's still very valuable and very good. There will be other occasions where they've done it, but in the main, they don't really do that. Toni Kroos would be one. There will be others, but what I'm saying is they don't do it very regularly because they are Bayern Munich. They are Bayern Munich. They are the best team in Germany, one of the best teams in Europe. Anyway, I don't think we'll get Tolisso, and hopefully that nothing comes of that. If you've joined in a little bit late, two big positive news, I believe. Simon Stone, very reliable BBC journalist. Martial will not leave Manchester United this summer, so don't listen to the Inter Milan stories. There was another Inter Milan story about Martial this morning in the Mail, actually, saying that Manchester United are open to it. Simon Stone, no, they're not. He's part of Solskjaer's plans. I think that's a positive. I don't want any upheaval in an area where we look settled, which is striker. And also the second story, Varane Medical today. There's a big chance that Varane will do his medical today, his promo picks today, and be training with United tomorrow with an outside chance of starting against Leeds. Although Solskjaer has said he'd be on the bench, he might start against Leeds. There's no point putting a centre-back on the bench. If Sancho's on the bench, you know he's coming on for the last half an hour. You don't bring a centre-back on unless you've got an injury, because it's upheaval. You either start him or you don't, and I would start him. If he trains tomorrow, I would start him, because he's even 70% fit, he's better than Lindelof. Was hoping Villa would look at Lingard, can play in the number 10 or the wing like Grealish. Do you think Lingard getting COVID will affect his outgoing, says Piers. Well, I do want to talk in a moment about a few things I've heard from the actual Manchester United sort of training ground and preparation. Plus, there's a couple of stories in the press about defensive setup, plans for the season, whether Ollie's actually happy. We'll go through all that in a minute. But on Lingard, there's two trains of thought with Lingard at the moment. Some people think because we've changed our midfield, that means Lingard's going to stay, because we've got one holding midfielder, a box-to-box and an attacking midfielder. I mean, I don't think that means Lingard's going to stay, because Lingard can't play box-to-box. He can only play attacking midfielder, and we played with an attacking midfielder last year. I don't think Lingard should stay for it. I've said before, I'm not going to change my opinion. I think Lingard should go for his career. There's a World Cup coming up in just a year's time, and if he's at United, he's not going to the World Cup. He may as well hand in his England potential if he stays at United, because you're not going to get in the England squad. Jesse. If Maddison goes to Arsenal, that enhances him. Grealish at Man City enhances him. Foden's already there. Mount's at Chelsea. You know, you're not going to get in as the attacking midfielder. You're not playing for United enough. So he needs to get a move. That's what he needs to do. Leicester would be good for him. Villa would be good for him. West Ham would be good for him. Whether it's going to happen or not, I don't know. I think United are stupid. We spoke about it yesterday, that massive list of senior players that we've got, and there you've got a player that you could easily just say, look, there's no future here, we want to sell you, and he'll go, and you get a bit of money in. But, you know, we don't seem to be very ruthless at selling players. I don't understand why Ollie and his coaches are so obsessed with keeping a 27, 28 senior squad. Makes no sense to me. You cannot, it's impossible to make everybody happy. You're just creating problems. If Pogba refuses to sign, I wouldn't play him again this season. Donny plus CDM, says Mandor. We won't do that, Mandor. Maybe I've missed it, but what number is Varane going to wear, says Red Ninja. No, you've not missed it, Red Ninja. Medical today, apparently, for Varane. There is a big rumour that he's going to get the number 4 shirt and that Phil Jones will give it up. I do feel sorry for Phil Jones in that sense, only from a human being, empathy, sympathetic point of view. In a footballing term, you've got to be ruthless, and Varane's going to be our best centre-back with Maguire, so 4 and 5 makes sense. So he should get number 4. It would be very sentimental of us not to give him number 4 and keep it with Phil Jones. So we will see what happens with that. Lingard to Arsenal. Look, if Arsenal weren't so bloody, what's the word? Arrogant, I think Lingard to Arsenal would be a good deal. But they think Lingard's crap at Arsenal and they don't want him. So, you know, I think Lingard to Arsenal would be a good deal. But, you know, I'd swallow it as a United fan. You know, if Lingard went to Arsenal, I'd be happy for him. Lingard might think, well, I'm not going to do it, and Arsenal might be like, we don't want him. I actually think it'd be a good deal all round. I think he'd do a good job at Arsenal, but I can't see it ever happening. Mark, have you done your fantasy league team yet? The deadline's soon. I haven't. Danny Doritos, I haven't done mine yet. Let's move on to the Times, which is a UK outlet. They're confirming what we were talking about last night, that United are retracting from a Kieran Trippier deal. And to be fair, there's a lot of UK... I've not heard anything from like Romano or anything, because it's not really the sort of thing Romano would talk about unless we were actually advancing the deal. But a lot of UK outlets are now talking about Trippier and United retracting, which is very interesting, because what I can say about Trippier is, I said it back in March. I was asked, like, who do you think we're going to sign this summer? And I said, look, if I had to bet on two players, it'd be Sancho and Trippier. Obviously, we bought Sancho. I really expected us to buy Trippier. I know we wanted Trippier last January as well. So I am surprised in a way that we're not getting Trippier, but I've got to be honest, I'm probably quite happy. Not because I don't rate Trippier. I think he's a good player. And I have heard from a lot of different people that, family members are in Manchester. They expected this deal to happen. I think United were looking for it to happen. And I think Atletico Madrid, if they'd said he's available for 13 million, we would have done the deal. Because they want double that, United have quite rightly said, no, we're not going to do that deal. And I don't really think it happens now. People are saying in a year's time he'll be available for cheap. But in a year's time, he's touching 32. I personally do think it's difficult, but the money that it would cost to buy Trippier when he's 31 next year, I don't think we need to waste that money on that sort of a deal at this time. And I think that the obvious choice for me is that Dalot isn't as good as Trippier, but could be better than Trippier, and certainly will be better than Trippier in 3 years' time, because Trippier will be nearly retired, and Dalot will only be in his mid-20s. So it makes sense to give Dalot this season. I also think you're going to see a big improvement in Wan-Bissaka with Sancho ahead of him and Varane next to him. So for me, it's logical, and I'm glad that United have been adaptive in their transfer window activity to go that we want Trippier, and then things have changed and they've gone, actually, that's not a good deal for us anymore. Because that's ruthless. That is ruthless to say, we want him. Oh, the situation's different. Let's not get him and let's use that money elsewhere. Now, the big thing is, we should now be not getting Trippier and moving towards a midfielder. Let's see what happens with that one. But I do agree with that. United doing shirt countdown to Leeds game for tomorrow, says Alex Lang. Might be stretching a little bit there. Why can't Man United play in a 4-3-3 formation, says Emmanuel? Well, we sort of did. We sort of do. We have 3 midfielders. Whether that's McFred or Bruno, or whether it's Matic, Donny and Bruno, that's still a 3. It's just how you want to call that 4-3-3. It can be it's still 4-3 midfielders, 3 attackers, just whether you have 2 holding or 1. Forget the right back, we need that midfielder, says Kev McGee. Regarding transfers, I have a feeling United are dragging their feet just to get someone on loan or on the cheap at the last minute that we probably don't really need or is worth it, says Mark from Oz. It certainly feels that like United are putting it out there that they're happy with what they've got, and ultimately I'm not happy with what we got. And there are, Ethan Laird's a player people are mentioning, he's going to go on loan again. But yeah, look, I do think that Manchester United are a club that are in a position where it's very hard to read where we are. But I do think we need a midfielder. But we do need to sell as well, and we failed in that area. We're getting Harry Winks. Well, Harry Winks was a player that was linked to us. You never know what might happen in the last few weeks of the transfer window. Harry Winks on loan, yeah, maybe. Anything on our formation this season, says Corey? I'm about to talk about some sort of information coming from the training ground, so hold out for that. If Ollie's happy, he's got to perform, says Asher. Dalot is fine as a backup, says Joe Bowden. And Bruno plays higher than the strikers, says Steve 10. Yeah, but we play 4-3-3. All this support striker or Bruno's a striker, that's not happening against Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, away from home. That's not going to happen. He's going to be closer to our goal than their goal. So, look, at Old Trafford, I'm happy for Bruno to also almost be a support striker, because that's the way you should play at Old Trafford against teams like Everton and Leeds. But across the wider season, in the bigger games, we're not going to see Bruno as close to the striker. Camavinga Dex. I think Camavinga will move in the next 3 weeks. I hope Man United can make a move for him. Not really on today's topic, but I would like Martial to have a good season this time round, says James. Well, it is on topic today, because Simon Stone has come out in the last few minutes saying that Manchester United will not Manchester United are not interested in selling Anthony Martial. He's very much viewed as part of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's plans for the new season. So that's big news around our man Anthony, and it makes sense to me that he should get another shot at it this season. I certainly think he's definitely part of the plans, as I said. Let's move on then. I've got a few things to bring you from the training ground. In fact, just before I do that, let me just draw your attention to what I'm wearing, which is one of these beauties. You can get it through the link in the video description, second paragraph down. We do ship worldwide. We've got lots of lovely colours. I would wear this one. This is my favourite one, but I can never wear it on screen because it's green and I would disappear. But this is the one I'm wearing at the moment. Links in the video description for that. We've also got a wide range of things that you can get hold of. We got mugs, we got jumpers, we got t-shirts. There he is, Anthony Martial. We've got Bruno, we've got mugs, we've got 99, Greenwood, Rashford there as well, United Stand mugs, and the 3 up there as well. So links in the video description for that. We do ship worldwide, and you can get hold of some United Stand merch today. Right, let's talk about the... Does Ollie's success this season depend on how effectively he rotates the squad, says S. Ahmed, and keeps them happy, as well as resting players when needed as well? And not really... So, well, I mean, look, I think people get a little bit obsessed with rotation. I'm not talking about changing your team every 3 games. Rotation for me is just making substitutes. That's all. I don't want to see Bruno playing against Leeds and then... I don't know, Mata playing against Southampton and then Bruno plays against Wolves. I don't want to see that rotation. I want to see Bruno playing nearly all of our Premier League games because that's how you win the league. And I think rotation sort of, and this leads us in nicely into the sort of things we're hearing from the training ground. So, because United, well, let me just finish that point, then I'll talk about what we're hearing about goalkeepers and preparation, etc. Rotation's a word you can just chuck out literally. Like, oh, we need to rotate more. But what do you mean by rotate more? Because I'll tell you what I mean by rotate more. I don't mean only play Bruno in 30 Premier League games instead of 38. I want to see Maguire and Varane play nearly every game. I want to see Bruno play nearly every game. I don't want to see him playing in the Carabao Cup. Not massively interested in them playing in the FA Cup early rounds either. I want them starting in the Champions League and the Premier League, which is a massive amount of our games. But rotation for me is not about starting Mata or Lingard instead of Bruno. And I'm using the Bruno position as an example because you could say Telles for sure at left back. You can do it with the midfield. You can do it up front. Rotation for me, and where I think we've gone wrong, what rotation means to me is that we're playing Wolves at home. It's 0-0 with 25 minutes to go and we're just not having a good day. And I take off Cavani and I bring Martial on. And I take off Rashford and I bring Ahmad on. That is rotation for me. And I take off Pogba and I bring Donny on. 3 substitutions, 25 minutes to go. That's the sort of rotation I want to see because last year we weren't seeing those subs at all. And if we did see them, it was with 5 minutes to go. That's rotation where you take a chunk of a big game with a third to go and you bring 3 players on and you trust them. That, to me, is the rotation I want to see. It's not about starting different players. I think the Premier League and the Champions League, you've got to go with your strongest 11 as much as you can. Carabao Cup, FA Cup, you rotate. But how many times... If you rotate in the Carabao Cup, you might get knocked out quite quickly. But where the rotation comes for me is in the subs. And this is what I mean about the massive amount of players we've got. Because if you've got 9 subs and you can only make 3 subs, but you're going to pick your strongest 11, in most games like you should. These players here, they're just never going to play. The squad is too big. We do need to rotate, but the squad is too big. Now, what we're hearing about from the training ground, there's a few things. First of all, we'll talk off about... there's a couple of things I've heard, but from the Telegraph, this is from James Ducker, about the defensive coach, Eric Ramsey. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and his coaches have basically assigned this new coach, Eric Ramsey, to deal with Manchester United's defensive set pieces because there's a concern about how many goals we're conceding from corners and free kicks. So this guy's been brought in, tasked to stop that, right? Really good, really positive, but I can't help thinking, why do we need to bring in a defensive coach to make us defend better at set pieces and corner when every watch along I've done, I'd say thousands of you know exactly what we need to do? Why do the coaches that we already have an inability last season to see what many people could do? And I think this Eric Ramsey will make us better defensively, but I can't believe that we've had to bring somebody in to get us to defend corners and set pieces better. Because to me, it was abundantly clear what the problem was last year. And it's quite scary that the coaches we had last year couldn't figure it out, even though they're on good money and they're Manchester United coaches. The problem with it last year was that we weren't organised. We were on corners. We are doing zonal defending on our with a bag of cement on our feet. Nobody was ever on their toes. Nobody was moving. So you're always going to lose from zonal marking if you're static, because people get the run on you, and that happened a lot. We weren't mobile enough in our zones. And the same one with defending set pieces. You think about the Everton goal we conceded late on 3-3 at Old Trafford. You think about the goal against Villarreal. Everybody's too static. It was so easy to... Basically, what United do when they're defending corners and free kicks is everybody stands still. Nobody moves. So if you're an attacker like Moreno for Villarreal, you start on Shaw, and before the ball's been kicked, you move towards Lindelof. Lindelof thinks Shaw's got him. Shaw thinks Lindelof's got him. They're static, and Moreno ends up with a one-on-one goal. United, defensively, just need to be on their bloody toes. Communicate and on your toes, and we're not on our toes for set pieces or free kicks. Now, I'm sure this Ramsey guy is going to sort it out, but come on, we've just spent 2 minutes analysing very basic things. Football's very simple. It really is. Neil Warnock, Sam Allardyce, Tony Pulis, they've made a career managing Premier League clubs. Basic football, well done to them. It's not easy. It's not rocket science what their tactics are, and it's not rocket science how to defend set pieces and corners. United last year, that's really worrying that we couldn't figure that out at all, and we've had to bring somebody in. But the positive is we've brought somebody in and we've highlighted the problem, because the worst thing is just burying your hand and head in the sand and saying let's carry on as we are. In regards to keeping players fresh, says Delicate Official, why would the Prem not allow 5 subs, especially with the ever more bloated amount of games? It would benefit all, says Delicate Official. I think 5 substitutions starts to turn it into an exhibition, though, doesn't it? I don't think we should be having 5 subs. And also, we are getting back to normal now. Last season was, a compact season, 3 games a week, every week. This year, you are going to get more time off. Mark, with the addition of Varane being that fast centre-back and allowing the team to push up, it will cut the distance Bruno feels he has to run. Hopefully, says Chilled Aussie. The second thing I want to talk about from the training ground is the preparation. Now, Ollie is always going to come out and say he's very happy, because Ollie always does that. There is frustration at United. Now, a lot of it is frustration that it's typical frustration. We get everything ready and we're still not ready. Cavani, they knew Cavani wouldn't be here for the Leeds game. That was planned. He's not said I'm not coming back. Ollie, the coaches, Cavani, they all agreed that, and United felt that they could start the season without Cavani and be okay. So Cavani not being here for the Leeds game and maybe even the Southampton game, that was part of the plan, and United felt that they could deal with that. Where it's gone wrong is they didn't expect Sancho to be back late, and they didn't expect Varane not to be here yet. So they felt that Sancho and Varane would be there for the Leeds game. And obviously they expect Pogba and everybody else to be fit for the Leeds game. So they felt that with a team that's got Sancho, Varane and Pogba and everybody else in it, they'd have enough to beat Leeds without Cavani and Southampton without Cavani. Of course, the problem now is no Cavani. How fit is Pogba? How fit is Sancho? How fit is Varane? How fit is Martial? So I wouldn't say United are furious or angry with anybody, but the feeling is that they're not as prepared as they thought they would be, and they are a bit frustrated about that. And it's put a bit of pressure on them that they've got to beat Leeds and Southampton. If they beat Leeds and Southampton, everything's fine. But there is a bit of pressure there because they're not as prepared as they thought they would be. And some of it's out of their hands. The visa with Varane is frustrating. And obviously Sancho coming back a little bit later than was probably thought. But, it is what it is. With regards to the goalkeeping situation, what I've been told there is that this talk that Dean Henderson's the number 1 isn't actually correct. There has been positive conversations between between Henderson and Ollie over the summer. And there was this rumour going around that Henderson was going to be the number 1. But the feeling from Ollie especially is, and he said this publicly as well, is that De Gea, with the pressure of Henderson, can still be Manchester United's number 1. And the general feeling around the training ground is that De Gea is still the best goalkeeper It's whether they can get into the level it's whether they can get De Gea to his best. And certainly against Roma and in a couple of games last season, they felt they were getting that De Gea back. And if De Gea can perform like that, then he will be the number one. But the question mark is whether De Gea can get to that level. And this is why Henderson has been spoken about as the number one, because they're not sure whether De Gea can get to that level. But if he can, he's the number one. So, I mean, it doesn't really give you that much clarity. I think De Gea will start against Leeds. And if he plays well, he should keep his spot. But you just don't know. You just don't know with Ollie. Henderson could get over his long COVID for the Southampton game. De Gea could keep a clean sheet against Leeds and be brilliant. And Henderson could be the number one goalie again. I mean, the reality is United are creating this problem themselves. And it must be crap for De Gea and Henderson as well. Because it's like all you want is that stability. And we're not going to get it. But as I said, the feeling is that De Gea is the better goalkeeper if they can get the real De Gea back. But Henderson has sort of been said, that door is open. So why aren't we looking at Kessie or Zakaria rather than looking at CMs to be made into CDMs, says Sarab. Well, Kessie's not a CDM, mate, so you're wrong about that, but Zakaria is. Welcome to the Members Club, Jonathan King. And good morning, Mark, says Floyd. Good morning. Good morning. Mark, do you think that if Varane does his medical today and is announced, do you think we will announce the third kit with him, says Toby? Mate, you know what I think about the kits. If you want to go out and buy the kits, that's completely up to you. But to be honest with you, I think the Glazers have played a masterclass, which I thought they would do. They shit all over the fans, didn't they, with the Super League? And they've basically bought Sancho and Varane and released a new kit, and everything's fine. I just can't believe it, really. I can't believe how gullible our fan base is that they've forgotten that what happened 3 months ago and just gone, oh, let's get on with it, it's a new season. I get the excitement, but the reality is when the team played, remember when the Super League thing was happening, United did have a game and everyone was like, look, we're going to get behind the team, that's very separate, but the Glazers can do one. And it just seems to me like all that momentum that we had for change has just disappeared. I think the Glazers have just secured their future for the next 10 years, really. An update from the Telegraph. Diego Dalot is expected to be given a chance to compete for the right-back spot with Aaron Wan-Bissaka, as Kieran Trippier's price is prohibitive as things stands. Well, we know that. We've been speaking about that for a while. And no intention of selling Martial. We know that as well. Medical will start today with a view to complete the deal tomorrow. Yeah, we know that as well. So lots of updates coming in now from other UK outlets. And that's coming from the Telegraph. So what I would say about this, and look, you can take this with a pinch of salt. I think there are certain journalists out there that are briefed by the club. Simon Stone, James Ducker, Telegraph, I think that's come from the club. They are people that I think get information. Well, I know they get information from the club. And when they're both tweeting the same thing and within half an hour, that looks like it's a club brief to me. And that I'm talking about Anthony Martial. That's obviously coming from the club. They've briefed the press that Martial's not for sale. And that's what a club brief looks like, in my opinion. When you get people like Simon Stone and James Ducker saying that United aren't selling Martial, that's the Telegraph and the BBC. They might be having a coffee together, but I think somebody's spoken to them this morning, and it will be probably a certain somebody from Manchester United Football Club saying that Anthony Martial's not for sale. So there you go. That's how you can spot what I believe is a club brief, and it's a good club brief. I'm not saying clubs briefing the media is a bad thing, but it's always good when you think you spot it, because then you know it's true. But we know that's true anyway. We know that's true. Palhinha is Sandeep is a good player. I do like Palhinha, but I don't think we're going to go for him. I've got no idea about what midfielder we go for. Ivan Scannell says, Mark, do you feel it's somewhat last chance saloon for Martial this season? Yeah, I do. I think it's last chance saloon for a few players this year. You could say, well, I don't even want to talk about the goalkeeping situation. I don't know what's going on there, but I think Dalot has got a season to make or break it. I think Martial's got a season to make or break it, quite rightly. I think Ollie's, in many ways, Ollie's got a season to make or break it. And then you've got people like Matic and Pogba who've probably got their final year here. Cavani's got his final year here. Encompassing this whole season, this is not, like what I said last night and what a few of you said, this season's not a work in progress. Remember what I said a couple of weeks ago about Pogba? And I was conflicted, because I was like, look, you could try and sell Pogba, you could put him in the reserves, you could just stick with him, even knowing he's going to leave in a year, but still play him. And I said, look, are we better with Pogba or are we better without Pogba? We're better with Pogba. In the squad, we're better with Pogba because of the quality of player he is. Does he create problems? Potentially, yes. But I did also say, look, Pogba goes in a year. As far as I'm concerned, Pogba goes in a year. And yet, unless United do something silly and offer silly money, Pogba goes in a year. But Cavani goes in a year. Matic goes in a year. Pogba goes in a year. That's 3 players who are gone in a year. You've then got make or break seasons for Martial, Dalot, a couple of other players as well. You know, you've got over half your first team there, or first team squad, who in a year's time might not be here, make or break or going to leave. Therefore, this season's not a work in progress, because in a year's time, we're going to have to replace at least 3 players, maybe 4 or 5, maybe even the manager. So this season is the season. It's a make or break season. And I don't want to hype it up, although I'm not bothered about hyping things up. I'm quite excited by it. But this is not a work in progress season. And it can, if I hear those words coming out of Ollie's gob or the club's gob about it being a work in progress, I will call it out. Last year, work in progress, fine. Year before, fine. This year's not a work in progress. This is stand and deliver. This season's about delivering, because in a year's time, we're going to have to make big changes for various reasons. So this is the year. This is, can you get in a title race? Look at the first 6 games we've got to achieve this year. What achievement is this year? Well, that's a personal choice. For me, over 80 points and a title challenge that goes into deep April is progress. And if we're in that position, I want to bloody win it, by the way. I'm not going to sit there in late April when we bottle it and go, oh, well, at least we did it. I might do when the season's over and go, that's a massive improvement. But, you know, I want to be in it to win it. With Leicester City getting Samari, they've got a Tillemans pivot. Looks like they're shifting Ndidi out. And Ndidi deal on the quiet, says Jeff. No. I don't think they are shifting Ndidi out at all. I don't know what makes you think that, Jeff. I think Samari will be on the bench with Daka. I think Leicester have bought fantastically well. I think Samari, I watched the Community Shield on Saturday night and I said, what 2 fantastic signings by Leicester. Samari and Daka come in whilst you've still got Ndidi and Vardy. Ndidi and Vardy will start, but you can just feed Samari and Daka in without pressure. So when you want to give Vardy a rest or you want to take him off, you bring Daka on. Likewise, if you want to give Ndidi a rest, you play Samari. That's just about squad depth and building for the future by Leicester. They're not looking to sell Ndidi at all. Ollie's hesitation to make subs is upsetting. With what good is having depth when he may not give players like Donny and Martial a proper chance? Exactly. The squad's too big and we don't use our bench enough, Kev. That's something that's got to change and needs to change with Saturday. It's got to start on Saturday. So yeah. Do you think Sancho will start against Leeds, says Andrew? It's too early for me to say at the moment, Andrew. There's a chance. There's definitely a chance. Are the Jovic rumours true, says Cameron? I saw these stories about Jovic. They're not true. They're not true. I think what people are doing there is, and you see this in the media a lot, you run the story that Martial's going to Inter and then you need the story of who United are going to replace him with. So you get 2 stories. Martial to Inter, United are bringing a player in. This is where Jovic is coming because of the Martial story. But above all that's a load of bullshit. We're not selling Martial. So Jovic to United, Martial to Inter. These things aren't happening. So park it, put it in the drawer and forget about it. We've not spoken about it. So you see, you are Ollie in but have nothing nice to say about him, says Matthew. Mate, you deal with your life. I'll deal with mine. You don't live in my head. You don't present this show. I put my opinion out there. If you don't like it, go and argue with yourself in the garden. I've clarified my position many, many times on many, many different things. I like Al Pacino. He's done some fantastic films and he's done some shit films. Because I like him, I'm not going to ignore his shit films. And the reality is, with Solskjaer, I am not Solskjaer out. If I wanted to be Solskjaer out, I would say it to you right now and I wouldn't care what you said. I was Van Gaal out 4 months before we bought him, before we sacked him. And a lot of people gave me shit about it. I was probably one of the earliest with Van Gaal. With Mourinho, I was probably middle of the road, but I still went Mourinho out 3 months before he was sacked. Ollie, I said Ollie out after that Burnley loss, and then we bought Bruno, and I said I will give him another chance because I think Bruno's fantastic. And I've never been Ollie out since, and I'm not Ollie out now. What I am is, I'm doubts. I do have my doubts, and I think, you know, that doesn't make you Ollie out though. And I will call out things that I don't think are good enough. And we lost the Europa League final, mate. I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to sit here playing ring a roses with the Ollie In club saying everything's fine. You're an idiot if you think everything's fine, because what we did in that Europa League final needed calling out. But there is a difference in life. We are not Sith lords of Star Wars where there is good and there is bad. There is this massive universe in between good and bad, and I don't deal in absolutes. And in that massive world of in between, I want Solskjaer to do well and I support the manager. But part of that support is my level of a United fan and being true to myself. I will never, ever be a sheep or follow a tune of anybody without questioning what that tune's all about and what the journey is. An idiot does that. Win, lose or draw, get behind the team. Off you go, you sheep. What if you lose 10-0 to Liverpool? Are you going to go, everything's fine? Always support the team, but part of your support is about calling things out. As I've said before, and I always use this story, when I used to go to Old Trafford quite regularly in the early noughties, Ryan Giggs used to get jeered by the Old Trafford crowd. You tell that to a youngster now, they'd go, I don't believe you. It's just, no. There was no Twitter. And people were jeering Ryan Giggs. Not because they didn't like Ryan Giggs, but because he was quite frustrating at times. He'd try and take on too many players and lose the ball. That's what it's like to support your team. Support your team, but call out things that you think can be improved. And I think with Solskjaer, I support Solskjaer, but yes, there's a big list of things he needs to improve on. But when I look at it, Sancho and Varane are the right signings. Bringing in a defensive coach is a right signing. Let's see if we can get a midfielder in, because that's essential. And let's see if he starts making substitutions. There's a lot of things that we're going to find out in the next 2 months. And you ask me in 2 months what I think about Solskjaer. And if he's still picking McFred, and he's still playing a back six, and we still can't beat a low block, and we're still playing boring football, and he's still not rotating the team making subs, then look, there's a conversation to be had. But this is a brand new season. We're on the eve of a brand new season. There's a lot of things to be said. You've got to remember all the mistakes of last year, and you've got to hope that they're going to change this year. And the proof is going to be in this pudding that starts being delivered on Saturday lunchtime. And I can't wait. I cannot wait. MUFC Deacon says, if you don't call people's wrongs out, even if you support them, you're a yes man or woman. He's just going to embarrass us. We have had good players who can get to the next level, but useless Ollie won't help them improve. Look, Tommy, I don't mind if you're Ollie out. Nothing wrong with that. If you're Ollie in, nothing wrong with that. Let's just see what's going to happen. Because if I truly believe, whether you're Ollie in or you're Ollie out, your expectation, and I think one way I can unite it is that whether you're Ollie in or Ollie out or Ollie out or Ollie don't know, shake it all about. We should win our first 6 games. If we are really progressing from third to second to title challengers, we should win our first 6 games. Leeds, Southampton, Wolves, West Ham, Villa, Newcastle. We should win our first 6 games. With the players we've got and the club we are, we should win our first 6 games. Ollie inners will agree with that. Ollie outers will agree with that. We're united. Let's see what happens. Bring it on. What makes you confident Varane will not just be a backup for Lindelof like Telles for sure, says Roxy. Will Telles and Van der Beek accept another season on the bench? Mate, I'm Ollie out. I'm Ollie out if that happens. You do not bench one of the world's best centre-backs, Victor Lindelof. You don't do that. You don't do that. We've spoken about Tolisso. Anyway, look. Really enjoyed the show. I'm going to do a video this afternoon. Join me at about 2. I'm doing a show this afternoon that is, I'm looking quite forward to it. It's a different type of video that we're going to do a lot during the season. We're going to be using this screen. It's going to be interactive. Make sure you tune in at 2 o'clock. It's exciting. It's about the season ahead and the squad we've got, and how it, instead of pretending everyone's going to get game time and how we're going to use players, it's about what we're going to do using stats from last season as well. Thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe, bottom right hand corner. I'll speak to you all soon. And remember, links in the video description. If you want to get yourself some United Stand merch, links in the video description, second paragraph. And I will speak to you all later on.